New world order starts the moment King David, the Messiah, is resurrected.
Yeah, I figured we could start there with just that concept that we were discussing, right? When you look at all of the information being shared in the Epstein files, you could reasonably argue that the powers that be have exactly the world that they want. We're all slaves in a rat race, totally asleep, right? Um,
Living on the plantation.
yeah, it's completely Matrix, right? So why would they then not? Why would they want to change that? I'm saying, right? And so for me, I've just been pondering: is the New World Order what they're really saying is they understand that the moment that David is resurrected, the power structure of this world is turned upside down. Now, obviously, it's not going to happen overnight, right? But when David's presence is here, him and Elijah are an unstoppable force that are going to wreak havoc here in Babylon.
Mm-hmm. That's under the premise that they have the book, which is the original book, and they understand it exactly what's coming when it's coming.
Boy, because you got to imagine the original book, Isaiah 44:28, Isaiah 45:1, clearly say David, right? So they must know what's coming, right? Um, and obviously, if they realize that their JC story is a deception, counterfeited off of something that's true, that gives me the sense that they clearly understand the resurrection and all those things. You even see it in the Master Mason degree with Hiram Abiff, right, where you die and you're resurrected. So
Mm-hmm.
you see it in a number of places, and obviously we've talked about the Crow movie. Even in the Crow movie, the character is resurrected by a bird. And we've talked about all the language where, the ravenous bird is sent first from the east. And what was that verse we just found? Hold on, let me get my notes. Isaiah, I think it was Isaiah 42, right?
You
Or
want
Isaiah
to
41.
Do you want to unmute Eliakim? Is that what he's asking?
Oh, he can unmute himself, can he?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I think he can unmute himself.
Okay.
I don't really do the. Yeah, he can.
Okay.
All right, so
Peace and blessings. I was just listening.
hey,
Okay.
Listen to y'all.
worries.
Yep, peace.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Go back. I interrupted what you were saying.
Well, I was just saying Isaiah 4 because we were talking about the ravenous bird, right? Elijah coming first, which we know from the first place we can see that is Isaiah 46, verses 9 through 13, which I'll read real quick here. Verse 9: Remember the former things of old, for I am God, there is none else. I am God, there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, My counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Verse 11: Calling a ravenous bird from the east, that is the prophet Elijah, who's then followed by the man that executes my counsel from a far country, that man that executes his counsel being David the Messiah. Yea, I have spoken it, I will also bring it to pass. I have purposed it, I will also do it. Verse 12: Hearken to me, you stout hearted that are far from righteousness. And I just want to emphasize what I believe God is saying here is those who do not believe what I said are far from righteousness. Because if we go to, I believe it was Abram in Genesis 15, right? He believed Ao, and it was counted to him for righteousness. Let me find that verse real quick. Pretty sure it's Genesis chapter 15. Yes, Genesis chapter 15, verse 6. And he, Abram, believed in Ao, and he, Ao, counted it to him, Abram, for righteousness. And so, to me, what the Most High is saying here is those that don't believe, hearken to me, you stout hearted that are far from righteousness. Believe what I said. I said I declare the end from the beginning, and I told you all of these things. Believe it. Verse 13. I bring near my righteousness. It shall not be far off, and my salvation shall not tarry. I will place salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory. Okay. So obviously, as part of that, um, if we go to where we were, Isaiah 41, notice what Isaiah 41 says. Isaiah 41, chapter 1. Keep silence before me, O islands, and let the people renew their strength. Let them come near, then let them speak. Let us come near together to judgment. Verse 2. Who raised up the righteous man from the east, called him to his foot, gave the nations before him, and made him rule over kings. He gave them as dust to his sword, and as driven stubble to his bow. And so you notice the beginning of that verse. Who raised up the righteous man from the east? Who is the person who came from the east and raised up the righteous Messiah, King David?
Elijah.
Elijah, the prophet Elijah, right? And so yeah, so obviously my new if you look at my PTR, it's a side by side comparison of a SpaceX rocket launch and the Polaris Dawn quote unquote rocket launch that took place on the morning of September 10th, 2024. And you can very clearly see that there's really, really important distinctions between these two. The first, the SpaceX rocket launch on the left, has a clear tail that you can see exactly where it originated from, and it is clearly heading up in an ascending direction. Whereas the light that appeared the morning of September 10th, 2024, which again is the true Feast of Trumpets, I will put a pin. Let me pin the calendar here just in case anybody wants to see. But September 10th, 2024 was the true Feast of Trumpets. And that morning, this light appeared in the sky, no tail, and headed down towards Earth. And then the light, the kind of cloud that you see there dissipates. And something continues down towards Earth. The other thing that's really important is the direction that this object came from. This light came from the east, heading west towards the promised land, where one would have to believe David the Messiah's tomb is located. And so you get a sense of why we have been feeling, again, the almond blossom symbolism of the almond staff, Aaron's staff, it blossoms. The almond tree is the first tree to blossom in the spring. We have Song of Dao, which you know as Song of Solomon, chapter 2, verses 10 through 14, which very clearly indicate that the beloved servant of the Most High God is going to rise up after the winter passes and the spring begins. Then we also have Ecclesiastes 12:4, which tells us that he shall rise up at the voice of the bird. And so, according to the true calendar of the Most High God, the spring equinox is 19 days away, March 9th, 2026. And some really interesting things because the sun rising symbolism. Brother, what was that verse? The other verse, was it 59:19? Is that the one? Let me go see. The idea of the sun rising, the Messiah, the rising sun. You see it in Christianity. You see it a number of places where the old flag of the Iranian government before the Islamic Republic was a lion holding a sword standing in front of a rising sun, right? And so let's go to that verse, Isaiah 59:19. So they shall fear the name of Ao from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. And so a couple of things I just want to point out that I find really interesting. First, God created the sun on day 4. That would coincide with years 3001 through 4000 of Earth's history as well, which lines up with David's first kingdom, where Israel reigned as the world power. Would be in the beginning of that millennium, right? Because at the middle of that 1,000 years is where Babylon occurs, right? And so you notice so the sun is created, and then that's also foreshadowing the period of Earth's history where David reigns for the first time. And then you look at the sun, where NASA says the sun is located 93 million miles away. You notice 93 is just March 9th, 39 reversed. Is that a coincidence? Right. And then look at Isaiah 59:19. So, we already read it, right? With the glory of the rising sun. So um, really interesting there, that we might be 19 days away from, as you call it, brother, the greatest story never told.
You need to go also read Habakkuk 2:1, 2, and 3, but there's other parts of Habakkuk that fit also.
Yeah. So I agree with you. I wanted to do that. I was about to do it, and then I didn't want to get distracted. But going back to Isaiah 46, verses 9 through 13, I just want to read verse 13 again, and then I agree. We should jump right to Habakkuk because it's they're talking about the exact same thing here. So verse 13, I bring near. This is Isaiah 46:13. I bring near my righteousness. It shall not be far off, and my salvation shall not tarry, and I will place salvation in Zion for Israel, my glory. And so now if we jump to Habakkuk chapter 2. All right, notice this. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say to me. And what shall I answer when I am reproved? Verse 2. And Ao answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that reads it. And I just want to point out that the word used here for tables in verse 2, chapter 2, verse 2, is the same word that's used when we're talking about the tables that God gives to Moses. Verse 3, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak, it shall not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. And I'm telling you guys, it's 19 days away, so it will not tarry. Hallelujah.
Yeah, praise God. I was just reading down further here.
Yeah, so that's where I wanted to start, just in terms of why we feel the New World Order is going to be right around the corner here. And we can go anywhere we want from there, yeah.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for the last 100 years or so.
The other thing that I realized recently that I thought was interesting was, the Chinese New Year, which was 2 days ago. It is the year of the fire horse. So it's a red horse, right? All the imagery is a red horse, which immediately made me think about um, Revelation and the four horsemen of the apocalypse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you put Polaris Dawn in gematria, the first result for the Jewish gematria is white horse. But even when I was swimming in the toilet, I always used to think that the white horse is the Messiah going out to conquer.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if you think about it, if the Messiah comes first, white horse, March 9th, 2026, is the next horse then the red horse? Is that why the Chinese New Year this year, which goes to February 5th, I think 2027, is a red horse? I think that's another really remarkable coincidence.
The only place that white horse shows up is Revelation 6:2 and Revelation 19:11. But then you have the red horse in Zechariah 1:8. I saw by night, and behold, a man riding upon a red horse, and he stood among the myrtle trees that were in the bottom, and behind him were there red horses, speckled and white. And that just made me think of those cattle. They're referred to as speckled cattle.
Well, hold on. Let's continue to read this, brother. I think you might have found something here. You want to continue to read down?
Yeah, from
8, just keep going.
Then said I, "Oh, my Lord, what are these?" And the angel that talked with me and said unto me, "I will show thee what these be." And the man that stood among the myrtle trees answered and said, "These are they whom Aho has sent to walk to and fro through the earth." And they answered the angel of Aho that stood among the myrtle trees. He said, "We have walked to and fro through the earth, and behold, all the earth sitteth still and is at rest." And the angel of Aho answered and said, "O Aho of hosts, O Father, how long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 10 years?
Okay, so we know that that's going to be years, right? Because that's 10 jubilees, which we know is the 70 jubilees, which is the Babylonian 3,500-year Babylonian captivity that the Messiah ends.
Yeah, and I was just about to stop and say that's 80 years. It's not years. And I'll answered the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. So the angel that communed with me said unto me, "Cry thou, saying, Thus says Aho of hosts, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy. And I am very sore displeased with the heathen that are at ease, for I was but a little displeased, and they helped forward the affliction. Therefore, thus says Aho, I have returned to Jerusalem with mercies. My house shall be built in it, says Aho of hosts, and a line shall be stretched forth upon Jerusalem. Cry yet, saying, Thus says Aho of hosts, my cities, though prosperity shall yet be spread abroad, and Aho shall be comfort in Zion, and shall yet choose Jerusalem. Then lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, 4 horns. And I said unto the angel that talked with me, What be these? And he answered me, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, Yasharal, and Jerusalem. And Aho showed me 4 carpenters. What, said I, what come these to do? And he spake, saying, These are the horns which have scattered Judah, so that no man did lift up his head. but these are come to fray them, to cast out the horns of the Gentiles, which lifted up their horn over the land of Judah to scatter it. What's interesting there at the end is so that these are the horns that scattered Judah, that no man did lift up his head, but these have come to fray them, to cast out the horns. I mean, this is just
The horses, right?
mm-hmm.
The red horse and the other ones behind him have come to deal with the horn, right?
Yeah, the four.
That's how I read it. The four horns, and obviously, to me, that is not very, very. I guess lines up perfectly with Daniel's four beasts, right?
Yeah, the four carpenters. This is the masons. This is the builders.
But then also think about, so that's really interesting. So I should repent about going to Revelation, because here you have a red horse imagery clearly referring to the Messiah coming to deal with Babylon. That's a beautiful chapter.
Yeah, well, it's what goes on here past us.
Sorry, I'm just going to get a pencil.
His favor on Zion. Well, he said he's jealous for Jerusalem. That he's going to rebuild it. Let's go back to that in chapter 1 here. He refers to the red horses in 1:8. First time he mentions Jerusalem is in verse 12. How long wilt thou not have mercy on Jerusalem and on the cities of Judah, against which thou hast had indignation these 70 jubilees? And I will answer the angel that talked with me with good words and comfortable words. And he says here in verse 14, I am jealous for Jerusalem and for Zion with a great jealousy.
Speaking of jealousy, something else we should talk about is last night, how many billions of people, brothers, started a fast? A 40-day fast. So think about it. If it's 40 days, during when the Messiah is going to be resurrected, the majority of the world is going to be fasting to false gods. You have Lent for the Christians and then Ramadan for the Muslims. And this fast coincides with the time frame of David's possible resurrection.
Well, I didn't. Yeah, that's good, because that's Isaiah 39. Let's go look at that. This is where we were. No, it's not Isaiah 39. It's Isaiah. We were there this morning.
59?
No.
58?
Isaiah 49. It's where we were talking about fast. And I can't even remember where we were at. Isaiah 49. I thought it was Isaiah 39. Isaiah 48. No.
You sure it's not 58? Yeah, 58, brother. Isaiah 58.
Yeah, observant of the fast. And this is where we were reading, and I said he gets he gets on them down here that he says he's talking about all their wickedness and how they fast. That you fast to your gods, and this is where I was talking about the feast, and I said here they are talking about the fasting. Well, that's I didn't even think about the Catholics and the Muslims and all that. Everybody fasting during this time. I don't know what are the exact dates. What is Ramadan? What is
So it
that?
started last night. Let's see. So Lent 2026 is Wednesday, February 18th to Thursday, April 2nd. And then Ramadan is the evening of the 17th through Thursday, March 19th. So Ramadan's shorter. But they both fasts overlap March 9th, go past March 9th. You see that?
No, I thought the Lent was. I thought you said it was. Would you say March 3rd?
April,
April.
April 2nd.
April 2nd.
Lent's 40 days, right?
40
So
days.
yeah, it's definitely going to go. I mean, we're 19 days away. So yeah, both of these systems are going to be fasting to false gods when the true Messiah is resurrected. And then don't forget what happened we talked about in terms of with Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's all being Thursdays, right? So heading into the year where we're going to see the judgment of God commence for 3 pagan holidays in a row, the children of Israel finally took a Thursday off because Pharaoh said so, though.
Yeah, I was trying to expand this. I don't think you can do that. Oh yeah, you can. Yeah, well then on the 9th, on the 10th is a Shabbat. Is that correct?
No, the 9th is a Monday.
Hmm. Oh, I'm looking at. Look at this. I can't. No, I can't even. Well, I can't even get there. I'm on 311. So let me go over here to 12. Is on a Monday.
It's also interesting that March 8th is when the clocks spring forward. So the clocks spring forward on March 8th, but according to Pharaoh, when is the first day of spring? March 20th is the first day of spring, according to Pharaoh, which is 11 days after the correct spring equinox.
Well, how does that work?
Oh, we know that the Pharaoh's calendar is always off, right? It's always lying about when things are. It doesn't tell us the correct spring equinox. We've known that.
Yeah, well, this is where they say NASA said this, and
Yeah, but NASA also says 365.25, which is
yeah,
directly contradictory with the word of God. And that's the thing. People want to go to NASA, you're going to get deceived. You're going to get Isaiah 66:4 for going and trusting man's nonsense.
2 Thessalonians 2:11. What do I do? Okay, I was just trying to get rid of it. I didn't know the screen would allow you to blow it up, and then it blew up for me. Um, I was going back to look at. Yeah, we have the observance of the fast. It says, "Behold, you fast for strife." Isaiah 58:4. "Behold, you fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast, and ye shall do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high." Is it such a fast that I have chosen? A day for a man to afflict his soul? It is to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him. Wilt thou call this a fast, an acceptable day of Aho? It is not this, that the fast that I have chosen, to loose the bands of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, and to let the oppressed go free, that ye break every yoke. And then he goes on to say, when you see your brother hungry, you're not feeding him. Zechariah 2. And it was Zechariah 1:8 that we were reading before.
Yeah, 1:8 was the red horse.
Yeah.
70 jubilees, which again just lines up with Jeremiah 25:11, Daniel 9:24, even Daniel 9:27. Right, if he confirms the covenant with many for 1 week, and in the middle of that week the children of Israel are cut off. Well, 1 week, if a day also represents 1,000 years, that's 7,000 years. The middle of that would be 3,500. Which is 70 jubilees. 70 times 50 is 3,500 jubilees. And you've noticed Jeremiah 25:12 is the verse that tells us what's going to happen. Sister verse with Genesis 15:14, where it says, "And it shall come to pass when 70 jubilees are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation," said oh, "for their iniquity, and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it a perpetual desolation." Brother, isn't the land of the Chaldeans the Persian Empire?
Well, that's what they say.
Okay, so here's a question for you. So if after 70 years, the land of the Chaldeans is made a perpetual desolations, as Jeremiah prophesied here, how come in Daniel chapter 9, verse 1, Daniel is speaking in the land of the Chaldeans in the first year of Darius, the son of Ahasuerus, who's not Cyrus the Great. So this is after Cyrus the Great. How can you be in a land that's supposed to be perpetual desolations? And why are the children of Israel still scattered? If you go down to verse 7, Daniel 9:7, O, righteousness belongs to you, but to us confusion of faces as it is this day. There's no truer statement than that word, right? That sentence right there, that currently today for the children of Israel, all they have is confusion. See Clubhouse as the best example of that. But let's continue. To the men of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to all Israel that are near and that are far off through all the countries where you have driven them because of their trespass that they have trespassed against you. So notice this is after the 70 years, and the children of Israel are still far off, scattered across the corners of the globe. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
not of the globe, of the plane.
Plain. Houston, we have a problem.
I mean, a major problem.
One's got it desolate.
One's got a desolate. The other was the Great Persian Empire, right? Think about it. If you go to the other dead giveaways, Jeremiah 53. Is that right? No. Uh, what is that? Jeremiah 50? Maybe it's Jeremiah 50. Yeah, Jeremiah 50. Okay. The word that Ao spake against Babylon and against the land of the Chaldeans by Jeremiah the prophet. Okay. Let's jump down to verse 13. Because of the wrath of Ao, it shall not be inhabited, but it shall be wholly desolate. Every one that goes by Babylon shall be astonished and hiss at all her plagues. So how can we pretend the great Persian Empire is the fulfillment of this verse? And again, I say Great Persian Empire according to Earth's history, right? Not from the perspective of it actually being great, right? It was a pagan, at the start of the Babylonian captivity, right? So a direct enemy of the children of the Most High God. Now, obviously allowed because of rebellion, but that nation is no different than America today.
Okay, so I got another question for Houston then. Because if I don't want, go ahead, finish up with Persia.
Oh, that's it. That's all I have.
Okay, so let's go to Zechariah chapter 2. Now, Zechariah is after, okay, they come back from Babylon, supposedly, allegedly. They're already back in Jerusalem. They rebuilt Jerusalem. And if you read Zechariah chapter 2, it's not built back yet. You want to go ahead and read through chapter 2? So I'm just saying, what you made me think of is you're saying here that there, Persia is supposed to be destroyed in one instance, and it's not in the other instance. It's still thriving. And here, Zechariah is speaking after the time that the children of Jerusalem, the children of Aho, the Israelites, have come back. He's gathered them from the four corners.
Which is clearly future prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what the world teaches. The world teaches us that was fulfilled after 70 years.
Mm-hmm. This is why it's 70 Jubilees. I mean, you would start to say if they didn't rebuild the second temple and they didn't do it in 70 years, and these things are not so, Persia's still standing, Persia's not standing, there's a confliction there. And then you look here in Zechariah, and this is talking about when Aho is going to rebuild it. Just like we said in Isaiah 58, he said, I'm jealous for Jerusalem. So Houston, we have another problem. And our duct tape and our rubber bands and all that is not going to get Apollo 13 home.
And again, this idea that Cyrus the Great Deception, a pagan worshipped Marduk, is going to be anointed by the Most High and called the Most High Shepherd, and then used to regather the children of Israel and rebuild the temple. It's complete nonsense. Another thing that is such a dead giveaway, brother, is we all know the punishments of God increase. They don't decrease. So let's just look at the world's theology. The world's theology is that the children of Israel were slaves in Egypt for 400 years, fulfilling Genesis 15:13, right? Genesis 15:14 is fulfilled when the plagues fall on Egypt, and the children of Israel are brought out of Egypt, right, with a strong hand. Okay. The Most High then destroys all of these nations for them, gives them the promised land. They rebel and ignore what he told them to do, and now they get 70 years of punishment.
Well, maybe he felt sorry for him or something, because they went from 230 years of punishment to 70 years.
I mean, yeah. So if you look at the correct story, right? The correct story would be 210 years in Egypt, 3,500 years in Babylon. And notice the punishment significantly increased
Mm-hmm.
because that's the way God works.
Why is this? What do you do with a measuring line, a surveyor's line, and all that? You're going to build something. In Zechariah 2, it says he pulls out his measuring line. It says, measure Jerusalem. There's nothing there right now, is what he's saying. He said, there's nothing to measure, Aho.
And, the other thing that to me is a dead giveaway that I just had this revelation this week, brother. You think about what they're trying to convince you, right? When Moses writes down Genesis, the first Exodus has already occurred, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the world's theology is that prophecy, okay, that prophecy, Genesis 15:13, which is arguably the most famous prophecy in all of Torah, was fulfilled before Moses even put pen to paper.
Okay.
Isn't that remarkable? Isn't that a remarkable? That's the teaching. That's the teaching. Before Moses put pen to paper, the prophecy of Genesis 15:13 and 14 were fulfilled. And this is the same God that tells us the end of the story from the beginning. And notice they do the same thing with Deuteronomy 18:15. Deuteronomy 18:15 was fulfilled when Moses put pen to paper and explained to us Joshua was raised up, right?
What? It's like Genesis 6:3, that he said he's going to give you, if you've listened, follow his laws, statutes, and commands, he's going to give you 120 years. And there's 433 years of kings in Israel. And there's 43 different kings in Israel for 430 years. And what is that average? I can't remember. 17 years. When 7 of the kings were so-called righteous, like David himself, he only lived 80 years. When he says, no, you're going to live to 120.
Oh, brother, you should bring up the stuff you found where Solomon's listed last. Jedediah, he's supposed to be called Jedediah. It's remarkable. It's remarkable. So what they've done, if it's in Isaiah 52, is it Isaiah 52?
No, second.
Well, I'm talking about the visage being marred. I just want to go to there. Because Isaiah 52, let me just find that. I think it's 52:14. Yeah. As many were astonished at you, his visage was so marred more than any man, and his form more than the sons of men. So you think about it. They take everything David accomplished and will accomplish, and they give it the glory to Cyrus the Great Deception. They give it to Solomon, and they give it to JC.
Okay, so 2 Samuel 12:24. And David, comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in unto her and lay with her, and she bare a son, and she called the name and he called his name Solomon. And it says, and loved him. And he verse 25. And he sent by the hand of Nathan the prophet, and he called his name Jedediah because of Aho. So here Solomon has two different names.
That was which? That was first. It was Second Samuel. You said
2 Samuel 12:24
12:24.
and 2 Samuel 12:25.
Mm-hmm. Very similar to what we see with the new toilet and Isaiah 9:6, right? Where all of a sudden he's supposed to be called Emmanuel, but the child's name becomes JC somehow in the future.
Okay. Well, this is part of what they said, that Jacob, Israel, Abraham, Sarai, Sarah. They're talking about, oh, you can have these other names like that. And all right, so let's just go with this, okay? So everybody should know that Solomon is the second child between Bathsheba and Dao, or Dao and Bathsheba. The first child is supposedly, allegedly, and we talked about this last week with Uriah the Hittite.
Mm-hmm. That's the one that passes away.
Yeah, he's on the ground for 7 days. That's in Samuel 2.
Mm-hmm.
And the boy dies. And then the next son that they go in, David goes into her right here, and Solomon is born. All right, now let's go to 1 Chronicles 3:5. 1 Chronicles 3:5. I think this is it. Yeah.
This is where he's going to list the children in order.
Mm-hmm. Now, and before we read
You
this,
should establish that they list the children in order of birth, right?
yeah, it's always, the children of Jacob. He always lists them from the first to the last, from the first to the lineage. This. Everybody in the book is, and Adam begot
Ham and Japheth, also in order.
Yeah, I mean, geez Louise. Go to Genesis, go to all the Chronicles, go to allegedly Matthew chapter 1, Luke chapter 3, and read. They're reading from the beginning to end, or from the end to the beginning, either way.
And really, the only counter example that you'll find is Ephraim being listed ahead of Manasseh.
Yeah.
Like when they say, for example, may he make you like Ephraim and Manasseh, Genesis 48:20, instead of saying, may he make you like Manasseh and Ephraim. But that's because David's lineage is Ephraim.
Yeah. Okay. So 1 Chronicles 3:5, and it says, this is David's children, the way that they were born. And it says, and these were born unto him in Jerusalem: Shemaiah, Shobab, Nathan, and Solomon, 4 of Bathshua, the daughter of Amiel. Okay, so he's listing these: Shemaiah, Shobab, Nathan, and Solomon. So Solomon is the younger of 4. And then take the child that allegedly died before Solomon, and that would be 5. But it doesn't say, these were the 4 children born unto him, and 1 died. These are supposedly the living children. So how does Solomon become the next in line when you have these other children here listed? So Houston, we have another problem.
Brother, that is a great question. And that's the thing, we're of the opinion Solomon's made up.
Yeah.
You don't make up a story and then hit the lottery by having it come true. Same reason why we say JC is completely made up.
Well, the reason that Solomon is made up, one of the main reasons is knows the beginning from the end from the beginning. He knows everything. And you're telling me Solomon is one of the biggest heathens out of all the kings, with all the foolishness he did with the wives, with all the foolishness he did with the temples? You're building temples for all these?
child sacrifice. We were talking about it. It seems like Solomon is exactly what the powers that be today, exactly what they would want, right?
Idolize. They idolize Solomon. In Masonry, they idolize Solomon. Solomon is the whole Masonic. If you were ever a Mason and went through the degrees, you would know that it's all about Solomon.
And his architect Hiram Abiff, right?
I
Which
remember.
again is all David. David built the temple. 2 Samuel 7, we went over it before. That's clearly corrupted text. 2 Samuel 7:13 says Solomon's throne is eternal. 2 Samuel 7:16 says David's throne is eternal. How can we have two eternal thrones? But again, just think about Solomon. They call him the wisest man in the world, right? Think about what this serpent enticed Eve with, right? Knowledge, come to the tree of knowledge, right? And then they also, in terms of
Let me
a lot of stuff you're seeing with the Epstein files, right? The sexual promiscuity of Solomon, right? Exactly up their alley too, right? And then obviously, committing child sacrifice.
back up to what you said about Eve. Just you said Eve comes to the tree of knowledge, right? Go ahead, say that again. What you said.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's the same concept of going to an external source, right, for knowledge.
Okay, so now, what was the other gal that came from Ethiopia to Solomon because she heard about all his wisdom, and she came bearing gifts?
Yeah, the Queen of Sheba, right?
The Queen of Sheba. So here's the Queen of Sheba, just like Eve, that she heard of all the knowledge and all the good and all this and that. So it says,
Yeah.
it says she has to come and see. She had to see it for herself because she couldn't believe it. So doesn't that sound like Eve?
Well, here's the question though: do you think that story has just been?
Well, now I could believe. Yeah, for Tao I could believe
Yeah.
because again, but Solomon I can't because you cannot have 700 pagan wives. Okay, and another 1,000. You can have 700 wives, and you can have 1,000 concubines. That can be true, but 700 pagan wives and the majority of 1,000 pagan concubines, and they're bombarding this guy the whole time about build me my altar, build me my temple.
Well, so yeah, I think what we should say too, to just clarify that you could have 700 pagan wives too, but you can't have 700 pagan wives and expect to have the favor and blessings of the Most High God.
Well, no, because you'd you'd never stop visiting all the temples and all the sacrifices they were doing and all the things they were offering to the altars. When he says it's a stench in my nostrils, so and then Solomon gets a hall pass. That there's no retribution for all of his foolishness, and his son is going to be passed on and all this business. I mean, it
Houston, we
can't
got a
be.
problem. We got a problem, Houston.
You got to go back to and you got to start looking and said, is this? Wait a minute, this is detrimental to his word. There's a glaring contradiction here that he says don't do these things, and Solomon's doing them, and he overlooks them.
It makes God a respecter of persons all of a sudden.
Well, of course it does.
And a liar. Because first of all, he doesn't even why would he respect Solomon? He's not following his ways, number one. But the idea, like I think they're trying to make us think like the way the world, like for example, like all these Iranian people are like clamoring for the return of the son of Reza Shah, right? The old king, like he should be the ruler, right? Be, um, and so I think it's kind of like that same kind of ideology that the son is as amazing as the father, where we see so many examples where that's not necessarily true. The um, one of my favorite verses in all of Scripture: "The sons of Eli were worthless men." I forget the name of it, where that's from. Um,
All right, so
let me find it.
and then I'm going to go back to Solomon for a second.
I think it's First Samuel 2:12. What's the translation that I don't think the King James says they were worthless men. No, that's not right. Samuel 2:12, maybe. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah. So King James says, 1 Samuel 2:12. Now the sons of Eli were sons of Belial. They knew not Ao, but in the other versions it's better. English Standard. Now the sons of Eli were worthless men. They did not know Ao.
Mm-hmm.
But
All
go
right,
ahead, go back to Solomon.
let's step back to Solomon for a minute. Exodus 20:22. And I said unto Moshe, Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Yasharel, ye have seen that I have talked with you from heaven. So he's distinguishing himself right now. Now what does he say? Ye shall not make me gods of silver, neither shall ye make you gods of gold. So isn't this statement right here after the golden calf with Aaron? Yes. This is already, Aaron with the golden calf has already happened. But anyway, verse 24, the altar of earth thou shalt make unto me. So he's telling me, if you're going to make me an altar, it's going to be an altar of earth. And shalt sacrifice thereon thy burnt offerings, thy peace offerings, thy sheep, thy oxen, and all these places where I record my name. And I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou wilt make, verse 25, and if thou wilt make me an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. And here's the key, if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. So you cannot make anything for me with your tools, your fashion, or that. And it says, neither shall go up thy steps unto thy altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereon. Right? So that means that you can't, this altar can't be high to where you can go up the steps and people can look under your skirts and see your privates. So the point I'm trying to make is, who built all the altars? I mean, we can go read this, but who built all the altars for Solomon in the great temple that Solomon supposedly built, allegedly? It says Hiram Abiff. Hiram Abiff built the altars of brass. That's
Was
what
Hiram a bit from the tribe of Levi?
I think he is. I think he is. That's a good one. He's Hiram from the first degree. um, but it says that you'll not do this. So go read all the
But the
things.
point that I was making, in addition to that joke, was something's wrong if Hiram Abiff is not of the lineage of the priesthood and he's doing things in the temple.
Well, I understand that, because it says that he put all these things in and made them and built them. And
Which,
you can,
according to Numbers 3:10, Numbers 18:7, that can only happen through the sons of Aaron, right?
yeah, you can't go in because of that. So Hiram, Ao is telling us, okay, if you're going to make an altar, which he outlined in Exodus 20, 22, 23, and 24, it's going to be altar of the earth. Now, someone could say, oh, the bronze is of the earth. Okay, that's fine. You could say that, but what it says is, don't put your tool upon it on the altar. What he's saying is, don't put your tool upon it with your. That means that you made it. So what he's saying is, stack up stones, and anybody can stack up stones and make an altar unto the Most High. So here we have Hiram
Is
Abiff.
that true, though, that anybody, or don't they have to be from the tribe of the priesthood after those rules are set forth?
Yeah, no, I would have to clear. You're exactly right. You got to clarify that it's from the priesthood, so they have to be from the tribe of Ephraim. But the point I'm just trying to make is, if you go read Kings and Chronicles about Hiram Abiff and the dedication of the temple, it says, Solomon even says, I built a temple where you could put your name. He said, I'm going to come wherever my name is. And he said, I'm going to put my name on that temple. But Hiram Abiff built all the altars. He built everything there, and his tools were laid upon it. So right away, you know that Ao could not accept You couldn't even get the show started with the sacrifices to dedicate the temple because it was already polluted. He says if you put your tool on it, you'll pollute it. So how is Hiram Abiff building everything in that temple for Solomon, and Solomon's going to dedicate it, and then is going to accept it, and he's going to bless it, and the sacrifice it's going to send down the fire and burn up all the sacrifices? How can he do that when the place is polluted before they got right out of the gate?
But he also did that for David's altar already. The fire comes down on David's altar, so that's the altar.
Where was David's altar? David's altar was on the threshing floor. That's right. It's the exact place where the temple was built. So what we're saying is, just like JC, they stole the story from the front of the book and they just pushed it over there a little bit more and created their own narrative
to diminish the visage of the true Messiah, King David, the man who built the first temple, the man who united the houses of Israel the first time, the man who established the glorious kingdom of Yasharel or Israel, right? That same person is going to do it again. He's going to build the second temple. He's going to regather the children of Israel first, right? He's going to lead the second Exodus. He's going to teach them through his mouth. I just want to highlight that we saw today. That was so beautiful. Let me find that real quick. The parallels between Deuteronomy 18:16 and Isaiah 59:21. So hold on here. So Deuteronomy 18:16, right, which is obviously the verse that follows this, I guess, between Deuteronomy 18:15 and Genesis 15:13, you have the two most famous prophecies of the Torah, right? Maybe Deuteronomy 28:68 would be up there too. But here, let's put this one down too. Okay, so Isaiah 59:21. Okay. So first, let's read Deuteronomy 18:16. According to all that you desired of Ao your God in Horeb in the day of the assembly, saying, let me not hear again the voice of Ao my God, neither let me see this great fire anymore, lest I die. So the idea is that the prophet in Deuteronomy 18:15 through 18, right? He's teaching, right? If we continue, notice 17. And Ao said to me, they have spoken well that which they have spoken. So what he's saying is it's good that they're saying they don't want to hear my voice anymore. Verse 18, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brother like to you, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I shall command him. Verse 19, and it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken to my words, which Dao will speak in my name, I will require it of him. And if you go now to Isaiah 59:21, look at what it says here. As for me, this is my covenant with them, said Ao. My spirit is upon you, and my words which I have put in your mouth shall not depart out of your mouth, nor out of the mouth of your seed, nor out of the mouth of your seed's seed, said Ao, from thenceforth and forever. And you think that's the same promise as the renewed covenant, right? The idea that he's going to write it on our hearts and minds.
Summarize all that you read and just against where you were trying to make that so people understand that.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to emphasize, if you look at the prophet in Deuteronomy 18:15 through 18, it's clear that unlike Horeb, where God spoke to the assembly and the assembly heard God speaking, that's not going to be the situation with that prophet. With that prophet is going to speak the words of God to the assembly. Right. So if we back up in Isaiah 59, let's go to verse 19 where we started. So they shall fear the name of Ao from the west, because that's where David's coming from, and his glory from the rising sun, again, reference to the resurrection of the Messiah. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the spirit of Ao shall lift up a standard against him. Verse 20, and the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and to them that churn from transgression in Jacob. You want to be part of that group. You want to churn from transgression in Jacob, Israel. All right. We want to leave the idols behind. We want to leave the ways of the heathen behind, right? We want to leave the teachings of Second Temple Judaism behind, right? Verse 21. As for me, this is my covenant with them, said Ao. My spirit that is upon you, again, the Redeemer he's talking about, and my words which I have put in your mouth shall not depart out of your mouth, nor out of the mouth of your seed, nor out of the mouth of your seed's seed, said Ao, from thenceforth and forever. So David is going to um, teach us. And notice if you continue in verse 60 verse 1, arise, shine, for your light is come, and the glory of Ao is risen upon you. Verse 2, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But Ao shall rise upon you, and his glory shall be seen upon you. Verse 3, and the Gentiles shall come to your light, and the kings to the brightness of your rising. Hallelujah, oh, brother. Write those verses down. But we should talk about how David is the light of Israel. If nobody understands what he's talking about there in Isaiah 60, verse 1, the light of Israel is David. And notice again that the lights, right, the sun was created on day 4, which again lines up with David's first kingdom in terms of which millennial it lines up with.
Well, that makes me think of the second temple. Ezekiel chapter 8. Ezekiel is after the destruction of Solomon's temple, allegedly, which is David's temple. But Ezekiel chapter 8, I don't have that pulled up in front of me, but Son of Man, he said, come over here and let's look through the keyhole, and I want to show you greater abominations.
So what you're saying is Ezekiel was before the destruction of the first temple.
No, he was after.
How could it be? What temple is he seeing?
Well, this is what I'm saying.
I don't know. So I know what the world's saying, but I'm saying from our understanding, the only temple that the Most High could be showing to Ezekiel where those kind of abominations would be taking place is the first temple. You're not going to see that in the second temple.
No, that's right. And well, this is my point but academia,
Sure, yeah, the
world, theologians,
mm-hmm.
all the smart guys,
Mm-hmm.
they
Sam
say,
Shamoon.
Sam Shamoon. Okay. They say that Ezekiel this is the second temple now after the first one. So my point where I was going is, you're telling me the Most High, he's going to let all this foolishness go on in the first temple with Solomon and all his wives and everybody's crapping on his temple, and they got all these altars built around his temple and probably inside his temple, right? Because that's why he destroyed it. And the second temple is the same stuff as, hey, son of man, I'm going to show you even greater abominations. Look through the keyhole, look through the hole in the wall, and see what they're doing to the children. They're molesting the children. They're doing sodomites. They're doing all this foolishness inside my town. You think that he's going to allow that to go on the second time when he knew it would happen? the first time? I mean, you
Yeah,
better
no chance. Yeah.
you better look and see who you're serving or who you're praying to or who you're talking to. But if it's somebody that you're praying to that says all your sins have been forgiven and you can just live the way you want to live and don't worry about it because I'm under grace, I'm not under the law. You got there's something wrong with the book because if that God is the one that keeps allowing perpetualism to go along and all the foolishness to go inside these temples, and there's no accountability when he thumps everybody. What was it last night that we talked about Jacob, and it says um, and Jake and Ao turned Jacob over to the robber, which was Laban. For 14 years, Jacob had to pay because what he did to his father.
Just like Al Israel was turned over to Babylon for 3,500 years.
That's right. You don't.
Notice the punishments keep increasing.
Yeah, you gotta. You you don't just get hauled back. Yeah, he was 14 years.
You see how it goes, everyone? See, it's ascending like a SpaceX rocket. It's ascending, not descending like the prophet Elijah. Ascending like a SpaceX rocket.
Yeah, but there's a problem here because SpaceX rocket's got a real bad crash and burn record.
Yeah, and they all look like McDonald's golden arches being launched into the ocean. So yeah, Earth is flat. There's a dome over your head. Anybody who wants to pretend other, these guys are fools. They don't understand science. Basic math proves that Earth is flat. I want everyone to hear that. Basic math proves that Earth is flat, just like the Word of God does.
Yeah. If you can just do a little bit of geometry, which I'm not good at, but if you can do geometry and look at the flares of the sun, like a street light, if you look at a street light and you look at the pattern on the ground and you take the width versus the height, you can estimate how far that light is away to like within a fraction of a percent. You don't need to measure up. You can do it by what the light is shining on the ground.
I
And you
mean,
can
there's so many easier ways though. You don't even need. I mean, that's like those kind of measurements. I feel those can get really complicated for people. But just think about like when the sun's rays break in the clouds, right?
right. That's what I was meaning. The light that flares
You're
through
talking about
the cloud.
flares through the clouds. Yeah, it splits out. It's impossible if the sun is 93 million miles away.
There would just
You bend light at the source. Think about a prism.
yeah. Well,
If it was 93 million miles away, all beams of light would come in vertically down, straight down. It would all be vertically straight down.
well, you can go to the beach with a transit, and you can very quickly you can tell that the Earth is flat. But anyway,
Also, the moon. Let's think about the moon, everybody. Whenever you see the moon, particularly during the day, ponder this. Why does the moon, the part that's missing, take on the color of the sky? So in the day, when I see half of a moon, it's blue, the part that's missing. But at nighttime, that part that was missing now is black. What kind of solid object takes on the color of the sky behind it? It doesn't make any sense. And even the craters, the quote unquote craters, during the day, they have a blue tint. At night, they have a dark tint, a gray tint, a black tint, right? And then, like, the angles of the part of the moon that's missing are like straight or like upside down or like the reverse way that you would expect a ball to create a shadow on a rock, right? Just literally, if you just look at these things and ponder them, you'll start to understand that you're living in Truman Show. You are Truman.
well, it's like a thunder. Every time you hear thunder, it echoes.
Same thing with double
It's like
rainbow. The second rainbow is a reflection of the first. There's not two rainbows. And the way you can see that is the colors are reversed. So what you're seeing is one rainbow reflected off of the firmament to create a second rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the new toilet. As we always say, there's a lot of truth found in the new toilet. When Paul says creation gives you no excuse,
Mm-hmm.
that is a statement.
Well, that's when Paul says in Timothy too, lay hands on no man suddenly.
I would say, lay hands on no man ever. Listen to them, right? But the standard of truth is the word of God.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
that's what to me that statement is lay hands. What he's saying is, don't accept somebody for the first thing that they said until they prove themselves by the word of Allah.
until it's proven by the word of Allah again. You see what I'm saying? I wouldn't give
Yeah.
anybody credit for past work. You know, look at Ravenous Bird. Past work, he did a lot of great work, it looks like, right? Has a lot of understanding. But now he thinks he's a ravenous bird.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think you always got to check it. Whatever it is, just check it with the word of God. That's why he gave it to us. Hallelujah.
Well, and then they'll lead back to no man knows the
No man
hour.
knows the time, but we're saying March 9th. And we were waiting for September 10th, just for the record. But no man knows the time. Yet somehow Amos 3:7 says God doesn't do anything until he reveals it to his servants, the prophets.
Well,
Buckle up. The New World Order is around the corner. Oh, and I did here, let me put that up. I'll put my new, the new episode of my podcast that I just recorded last night, just to emphasize the things that we really want to focus on, guys, as we head down to Jacob's trouble here. You know, we want to make sure that we have the coverings of the Most High God, as He
oh,
promises us.
talk about Jacob when he's wrestling with Allah when the day breaks.
Yeah. So I talk about it in the podcast too. But so it's such a beautiful thing that we saw today when we were looking at when Jacob is wrestling with God in Genesis 32 during the time of Jacob's trouble. Let's read it. So Genesis 32, verse 26. I think this is a beautiful place to end it because it's such a powerful message for everybody. And he said, and he being God, said, let me go, for the day breaks. So notice God and Jacob are wrestling right before the sun rises. And again, we've had this discussion on Clubhouse. I've had the discussion on my podcast. I think it was episode 5, Day and Night. The vision of the morning and the evening, which was told, is true. Daniel 8:26. So we have 3,500 years of light, followed by 3,500 years of darkness, and then we have the new day that's going to break. And so let's think about this, right? So he's wrestling with God right before the sun rises. And the day is always darkest right before the dawn. And look at what God says to him. Let me go. Give up. I'm not coming to save you. You were wrong to believe in the words of the Most High. Tempting Jacob, right? Telling Jacob, let me go. Let go of me. Give up. And notice how beautifully Jacob responds. And Jacob said, I will not let you go except you bless me. And he did, just like he will for you if you hold fast to that which is true. And that's his word, not the nonsense of man.
Everything speckled.
And may they all be speckled. Hallelujah, brother. All right, that's all I got. You got anything else?
I don't think so, unless you want to end with the prayer.
No, I don't want to read the whole thing again for everybody. I already got it live, and they have it. So,
Okay.
nah, I'll leave that for people. But obviously, all glory to the Most High.
Yeah.
And that's a secret weapon, guys. Pray towards Jerusalem, hands stretched forth towards his house, on your knees, right? Confess the true name and confess the house that Da'o built and will rebuild. And turn from our sins and repent for the sins of ourselves and of our fathers and those that came before them. Because that's how we're getting out of this place. There's only one way out.
Long march west.
It's going to be a beautiful sight. The greatest story never told.
Greatest.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Hallelujah.
All right, Baruch, brother.
Baruch.